Facebook right now, especially when it comes to advertising? Let's find out on this video. The surprise might shock you. What's going on, everybody? Hope that everyone is doing well. Welcome to this live stream. My name is Hernan Vasquez, and I'm super excited about this week. The reason why is because we decided to relaunch our $100 million framework. This framework will show you how to create, write, and launch really, really good Facebook ads that work every single time. We have come to, we put together this framework after spending 8 figures in advertising on Facebook, and we distilled it to the T. So you have a canvas, you have a copy, paste, fill in the blanks, super easy way to create and launch Facebook ads that work every single time. Okay, that's my promise. So if you want to check it out for a special launch price that we have going on, go to 100mframework.com. That is 100mframework.com and check it out. We're also adding a lot of good bonuses in there. So I hope you enjoy it. Now let's talk a little bit about if every company should be advertising on Facebook. And here's why your campaigns might not be working, because you might not be advertising on Facebook after watching this video. Now, I know that everyone was expecting me to say, yes, of course, everyone should be advertising on Facebook, right? Everyone should be spending a lot of money on Facebook because Facebook ads are awesome. But here's the reality. Some companies shouldn't be advertising on Facebook. And I'm going to tell you what companies should not advertise on Facebook and which should. Now, the other thing that I get a lot is, well, if I have a B2B offer, if I'm selling to other businesses, I shouldn't be advertising on Facebook. And that's a lie. Let me tell you that if you have a B2B company, if you want to get to decision makers, executives, trucking companies, other people doing businesses in your line, then Facebook ads can really work for you. In fact, Scale Driven, which is my company, my digital advertising agency, 95% of our clients are B2B, and we've been crushing it. Okay. Now, the companies that shouldn't be advertising on Facebook have to do with two main things. And this stems out of a conversation that I had with a lead last week. She reached out to us because she was super excited about us running her ads and whatnot. And what happens on a call, what happens when we hop on a call with somebody, is that we try to ask as many questions as possible. So it's not a sales call anymore. It's a we'll ask you as many questions as possible type of call. Why? Because I've been listening to Dan Kennedy a lot lately. Here it is. There it is. You cannot see it because of the reflection of the window, but that's good old Dan. And I've been listening to Dan Kennedy a lot lately. And one of the things that he mentioned is that how some people, especially some marketers, are able to prescribe a campaign or a strategy without a diagnose, right? That's like the run-of-the-mill approach. And the reality is that that's not how I can work. That's not how anyone can work. I was talking to a potential client the other day, and he was like, well, can you tell me how much I'm going to pay to get a lead? And the reality is that I can't. I couldn't. I told him, dude, you're asking me to prescribe you something without first running a diagnose, right? And a diagnose requires a lot of data and a lot of information, just as if you go to a doctor and, the doctor will perform a lot of exams before they give you a diagnosis and then they prescribe a treatment. It's the same thing with marketing. Whatever or whoever is trying to sell you something without specific diagnose, especially when it comes to, to service-based stuff like a digital marketing agency, if they are not if they're not making a diagnosis, if they're not asking you a lot of questions, and then they go right away to the prescription side of things, there's something off. Okay, there's something off there. So here's the thing. We were talking about, how her company, going back to this conversation that we was having with this lady, we were talking about this company, and we were asking her about a bunch of questions. That's what we do. We ask a lot of questions, and then we decide if we're going to be a good fit or not. And she answered all of these questions. And by the end of the call, I told her, listen, I don't think we can help you, unfortunately. And here's why. And this is why everyone shouldn't be advertising on Facebook. There are basically two things that will indicate if you're ready and mature enough to advertise on Facebook. The first thing is, as I mentioned, is business maturity. Is your business mature enough to advertise on Facebook or any other platform for that matter? We're talking about Facebook right here, but it could be Google, it could be Facebook, it could be YouTube, it could be TikTok, it could be whatever, right? Pinterest, Snapchat, whatever. So the main point is this: is your offer mature enough? Is your company mature enough? That means that are people giving you money right now for what you're offering? Are people giving you money right now for what you have to offer? Are people interested in giving you money right now? If the answer is yes, you tick the first box, which is, okay, I have a business now. Okay, there's a lot of wannabes, there's a lot of newbies, people starting out that they want to advertise, but they don't have an offer that people want to give them money for, right? So that's the first thing. Are people giving me money right now, this second, for what I have to offer? If you said yes, that's great. We're on the same page. You should ask yourself the next question. The next question is the math working in my favor? Okay, is the math working in my favor? Is the math going to pan out? Is it going to work out when I start advertising? And here's why I'm telling you guys this. The reality is that it has become more expensive to advertise on Facebook, for instance. Okay, Google and YouTube as well, but Facebook has experienced an increase in cost to acquire customer, cost to advertise, which is fine. It's not right or wrong. It's just the way it is, right? So let's say that you had an e-commerce store a couple years ago, let's say 2020, 2019, maybe pandemic, pre-pandemic and whatnot, and you were doing pretty well with Facebook ads, okay? It wasn't because the platform was easier to manage. It wasn't because there's a bunch of stuff that are not happening right now, because the reality is that we always had some sort of issue or challenge with the platforms, okay? Whatever that is, Google, YouTube, and whatnot. It's not because those ads were better or easier to manage back then. The reality is that it was cheaper. The cost to reach your customer was lower back, let's say 2017, 2018. So those e-com stores, let's say that they had a 20, 25%, sometimes 15% profit margin, they were able to crush it, right? They were able to get 25, 15, 20, 25% profit margin. But what happened is that pandemic hit, supply chains got kind of weird, and then we're here with an increased cost to advertise. And what happens is that if you had a 15% profit margin and now it's 15% more expensive to reach to your audience, provided that everything else stays the same, then you're eating into your profit margin. So unfortunately, the math does not work, right? The math doesn't work right now unless you what? You rework your offers, or you work heavily on your back end, which is what, unfortunately, a lot of e-commerce stores, they don't have, right? They have a couple products, they have a front-end product, but they don't have a back end. So the way e-commerce stores right now are making their money, and the way they historically made their money, is by selling something else to the same people that came the first time. Because in words of the great Dan Kennedy, a buyer is a buyer is a buyer is a buyer, okay? So you only need to pay to acquire a buyer once, but then you can sell them some more stuff, which I strongly recommend you do. The other niche, or the other issue when it comes to low ticket acquisition offers, or sometimes SaaS businesses, they have this issue. Like, for instance, ClickFunnels is a great example of how to actually massively scale a SaaS business. And the reason why they were able to pull this off is not because of ClickFunnels, it's because they offer a lot of information on the front end. And usually information has a lot of upside. It has a extremely high profit margin. Even if you don't make your money, it doesn't have that much of an expense to advertise. And then they sell ClickFunnels on the back end. But unfortunately, a lot of SaaS business owners, SaaS founders and whatnot, They should say, I have this one thing, it's $8 a month, and I want to sell this one thing, it's $8 a month, and I want to acquire a customer through advertising. It's really hard to do. Why? Because it will take you 3, 4, 5, 6 months to get your money back before you even start breaking even. Depending on the niche, you might be paying 20, 30, 40 bucks per buyer, right? So the math needs to work out. That's why I like to work with information products. That I really like to work with acquisition funnels. I really like to work with coaching and consulting, especially high ticket. Because if you think about it, if you have a $5,000 coaching program, you can pay $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 if you want to acquire a customer over the internet, right? If you pay $2,500 to acquire a customer, that means that you have a 2-to-1 ROAS. Or return on the investment on your ads. That's pretty good. So in order for you to know, hey, should I be advertising on Facebook or should I go somewhere else? The reality is that no matter what you do, if you're in business, you're going to pay to acquire a customer, whether it is with time or with money. If you're doing organic stuff, if you're doing outreach, if you're trying to grow your YouTube channel, your Instagram profile, if you're doing the organic stuff, SEO, you're not directly paying with money, but you're paying with your time, which is exactly the same thing. And I would say it's even more expensive, right? Because money replenishes and time doesn't. But the reality is that once you jump into the paid game, you need to start thinking about, is the math going to work out for me? Is the math going to make sense for me? Again, a good starting point would be a 2-to-1 ROI on your campaign. So if you're spending $1 today, in 30 days, you're taking $2 or more out. So that is a good starting point. So again, with the high ticket coaching, if you're selling a $5,000 product, $2,500 will give you a 2-to-1 ROI to acquire a customer if you're paying $2,500. If you have a $500 information product, $250 to acquire a customer would be a good starting point. Now, when you go lower than that, you need to start thinking, okay, how long it's gonna take me to recoup my investment, especially for lower than, let's say, $150 products. For lower than $150 products, you need to start thinking about what else I can sell so I can recoup my investment. If you have a subscription model, how long is it going to take me to recoup my investment? Okay, so again, I hope that this is helpful. If you want to learn how to launch really, really good Facebook ads that work every single time, every time that I've implemented this framework for me, for my businesses, for other people's businesses, it works. It really works. It gets the click, it gets the sell. So if you want to stop wondering why should I write, or what images should I use, or what should I say in my videos and whatnot for your Facebook ads, get the framework. It's really low price right now. We're relaunching it. Super excited about that. Go to 100 million framework or 100mframework.com. You can get your copy. We're throwing in a bunch of really cool bonuses as well, because I'm super excited about relaunching it. And I hope that you like it, and I hope that you get your copy, and I hope that this is helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'll talk to you guys soon.